It's the Score North Twin Show.
So their competition within that division is not great. At the same time, they've got a chance here, and it's going to be difficult for them. They probably will match up with one of the AL West teams in the first round, and that's not easy. But at the same time, this is a better Twins team than we've seen in recent postseasons, and I expect a better showing. I expect, first of all, a win. One win, a game win, and then maybe even a series win.
Oh, baby. Maybe even a series win. Ken Rosenthal.
Rolling out of bed into his broadcast room and dropping that.
There's a graphic. There's a longer version of the clip where he puts up the 0-18 graphic too.
Yeah.
Explaining it to people, because most people, unless you're from Minnesota, it is the least publicized postseason failure streak in our lives, maybe in like 100 years. But no one talks about it because it's the Twins and whatever, they're just like the doormat for the Yankees, pat them on the head and send them back off to their Uber driver job.
It's also over such an extended period of time. I think it's hard for people to identify with.
Yeah.
Because it goes back so far.
That's what makes it even more impressive. It spans generations. It spans presidencies. It spans all these things, But this is the
Friends
year.
Was still on, for Christ's sakes, when it started.
You're right. 2004.
I mean, think about what was still going on. Think about what things, how much has changed.
Yeah. So, well, the Twins last night, it looked a little dicey earlier. Like, oh, God, is this Cleveland their last gasp? They're going to come in here and do some damage. But the Twins bats woke up. The Twins relievers, the bullpen, came in and locked it down. And as you can see on the YouTube channel here, the Score North YouTube channel, Declan and the Score North graphics team has put together a magic number countdown graphic. 24 games, ladies and gentlemen. 24 games. As the Twins journey their way toward their first playoff game victory in almost 2 decades, which is all we really want on this show. So, I mean, I think we should let Judd choose which positive story we want to start with here on the Score North Twin Show today. So here are the options. We can talk about the Twins being one of the highest scoring offenses since the All-Star break. We can talk about the Twins having their best young nucleus since blank. We can talk about Cody Funderburk being the left-handed answer to this bullpen. Yep. We can talk. I mean, you pick a positive path for us to start with.
1 and 2 because 1 and 2 that you just gave us are linked very much so. The kitty core and the run scoring. It's no coincidence that the kitty core has played a huge role. And I want to start with this, a Royce Lewis appreciation, because, the first half of the season, how many damn times were the bases loaded and they couldn't even score a run?
Yeah,
forget a grand slam home run. I'm talking about they couldn't get a guy home from third. Okay. So in the last 2 days, Mr. Clutch has come up and hit back-to-back grand slam home runs, making him the first player in Twins history. This franchise has been here since 1961. They've had sluggers like Harmon Killebrew, Bob Allison, Kent Herbeck, Jim Thome played here. Puckett had power.
Declan, have you heard of Jim Thome?
And well, he didn't want to be here at the end, so you're taking a shot, Declan. I know.
Yeah.
Look, this is an appreciation, damn it. This is an appreciation.
Could have been a shot at both you guys, actually.
Yeah. Listen, I am telling you right now, don't sleep on what Royce Lewis brings here. And I'm not saying he's not going to make mistakes at times, and I'm not saying that he's going to be perfect. And I remain very concerned about his health until he goes through an extended stretch of not being hurt. But all of that being said, there is a clutch gene. There is something that he has that I will contend even some really good players lack. This kid has something that, and I know that the advanced metric folks are going to bristle here, but he has an it to him.
You know what the stat is called? Twinkle in his eye.
Twinkle, yeah, no,
There's
seriously.
a little twinkle in his eye when he comes up in those spots.
He loves to play baseball. He embraces opportunity. He seems to like pressure. Oh my God, a Minnesota sports figure who enjoys pressure. But I will say that your first thing and your second thing, Phil, are tied directly together. The offensive output has coincided with Lewis coming back from being hurt in Baltimore. Matt Wallner hit another ball halfway up the seats and right last night. If you start to look at what these kids are doing, in my opinion, they have reinvigorated a team that looked really damn stale for a long time, which is the thing I hated most about this team.
Yes, and I would like to go through and like, when is the last time we've had a nucleus like this that they're all rookies, or we can even throw like
Julien
Kirilloff.
Too, excuse me.
Who?
Oh, I said, and Julien too.
Yeah. Julian's the one that gets overlooked because he wasn't a name that people were following all throughout. Like we were following Royce Lewis. We were following, I know Kirilloff's not a rookie anymore. We were following Kirilloff. Matt Wallner is from Minnesota, right? So some of these names have been tracking for a handful of years, but they're all coming together. They're all guys that I don't think at the beginning of the season, maybe Royce Lewis a little bit, Kirilloff, and hopefully he comes back from the shoulder here in the next 2 or 3 weeks. The lineup card on opening day wasn't reliant on Edouard Julien. It wasn't reliant on Matt Wallner. You were hoping that those guys would get off to a hot start in AAA. Another name, too, that has absolutely come alive, and you weren't sure what he was going to be after another injury stint. Jorge Polanco looks as good at the plate right now as we've seen in a couple years. That ball he hit last night, that was a third deck moonshot home run. I love, too, the little bat flip. This team's got a little more swag to it than they did a couple months ago.
Having fun.
Yeah, please don't, Twins Twitter, please don't compare this team to the Bomba Squad. When I saw that tweet come out last night, my head exploded. I don't know if you guys saw that after they hit. I think it was probably after the Polanco bomb. It said, they showed up the video highlight and said, shades the 2019 Bomba Squad.
Well, the Twins put that out?
On their own Twitter page.
That team wound up being one of the biggest disappointments in franchise history. Okay.
Balaram. I want nothing to do with it. No.
Let that sit in 2019. We need a new shtick for this year's team.
Yeah, I agree. But it is interesting because I think Polanco has come along nicely. And honestly, I think nice of Rocco Baldelli to maybe listen to the Score North Twin show because the first 3 guys in the order yesterday were the exact same 3 guys I gave to Judd in a potential Game 1 playoff lineup. So I think those 3 guys are really the core here. And Kirilloff is the wild card because he's beginning to swing a little bit. There isn't really like a set timetable on when he comes back, but I still want him in the middle of the lineup, presuming he's healthy by the time the playoffs roll around too.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that everyone we're talking about here is 24 or 25 years old, not counting Polanco, Polanco seems like he's 38. He's not even 30 yet. He's just his body's been through a lot of stuff.
He looks old too.
But how do you feel now, in terms of not just the next 2 months, but the next 3 to 5 years? You've got a group of guys that are emerging into their primes. They're all clicking immediately upon impact in the major leagues, right? I don't know that I have felt this way about a Twins nucleus. I guess you could go back to that Bomba Squad season because at the time it was you're still very hopeful Sano was going to become a franchise cornerstone. He had a big year in 2019. Max Kepler had the best season of his career as a young cornerstone. Before that, you probably got to go back almost a decade to maybe more than that, like the Mauer and Morneau sort of. Kadire was a little before those guys. Hunter was before those guys.
I would honestly go back to early 2000s when the Soul Patrol and basically Corey Koski and all those guys, Minkiewicz, I think it's more reminiscent, to be honest, of that than it is of Dozier and Plouffe. For obviously Mauer and Morneau were MVPs, but Dozier and Plouffe, that better be the damn floor. That's the floor of good young nucleus. All due respect, my guy.
Swarzy and Husey.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it's more reminiscent of that because, you have 3 guys here that are really contributing. And when you look back at that 01-02 club that had all those nucleus players starting to click and hit their primes, I think it's more reminiscent of that.
So I think the difference here is, and this all again goes back to Royce Lewis and can he stay healthy? I think the difference is when there is a guy who's considered the linchpin of that group. Like Buxton was supposed to be that guy, and unfortunately, it became quite clear health-wise it was never going to take place. But Royce Lewis to me is a jumping-off point for if there was a poster of this group, the Kitty Core poster, right? it's not like they all get equal billing. Royce Lewis to me is front and center, and then everyone else is around him. And that's what excites me potentially, again, if he stays healthy about this, because there's always one guy that I want to see who you're like, you know what? That guy's really young, but he's more mature than the rest. Like he's doing things. And by mature, I don't mean away from the baseball field. I mean on it. And Phil, you were around the sport enough to see this too. Like it helps if there's one guy who says, you know what, dudes, I got this. I'm 23. I don't care. I got this. To go back to, and not to make the direct comparison, but Puckett had that. Puckett had that sort of just calm, I've got this, but he was boisterous and it worked. So I think what excites me about this is Lewis looks like that guy. And last night, that felt pretty bad, man. It's an inning and a half in, you're down by 4, your starting pitcher does not have it. And it's very clear it's going to be a struggle. And instead of the bases are loaded and Royce Lewis grounds into a double play, he hits a grand slam, and that ballpark, that dugout, that home dugout, everything changed instantly. And you went from, oh my God, you're going to lose this game, to it's 6-4 and Cleveland. And here's what I love too. When the Twins did that, it's not that Cleveland completely quit, but when they bailed at the deadline, players were clearly like, screw it, right?
Yeah.
And so like the Twins, in my opinion, starting with what Royce Lewis did, they took away Cleveland's will to play. And that's the type of thing, again, it's not quantifiable, but you can feel it. And that's the type of thing I think is so instrumental to success.
As the resident baseball analytics nerd here, which is how I've sort of rooted my coverage of the Twins over the years as a beat writer, everything, I am a firm believer that there is an unquantifiable human element to winning teams. There's a chemistry element. I love the way you put it. There's sort of a, hey, we're playing a team that we know we're better than, and maybe you're not able to drum this up every single time you come to the plate or every single clutch moment, but this is a time to flex a little bit and put a team away or overcome a bad start. And go back 20 years, I think Declan's right. This is probably, we're talking about the 4 guys we're talking about are all 25 years old or younger. Like the 4 we're talking on the lineup side, not the pitching side. Kirilloff, Royce Lewis, Edouard, Julien, Matt Wallner. Those are the guys that have helped carry this offense, for parts of the last month or two. And they're all 25 or younger. You need a group of young players like that all sort of band together. They don't give a rip about last year's failure because they weren't really part of it. They don't give a rip about the 0-18, like truly don't feel that pressure. I thought Rosario was kind of that for me for a while. I thought maybe he's the one that's going to change the culture here. And, they still wind up getting drubbed by the Yankees. But that team in 2002 had a bunch of dudes who were, Mankiewicz was a little older, but like Pierzynski was 25. Christian Guzman was 24 years old. Torrey Hunter just turned 26. David Ortiz was on that team, just turned 26 and was really good. Kadire was kind of a late in the season revelation. He was 23 years old. There's something about a bunch of dudes who are like just beyond college age coming up in the major leagues, playing off of each other and building a culture. And that, maybe I'm being too like optimistic off a nice little weekend against the Rangers and the Guardians, but the vibe feels different now than it did 2 or 3 months ago. The vibe feels different now than it did a year ago.
So I am not by any means assuring success, but here's where you are 1000% right. It is different. And some of the players who to me felt sort of like worn down and frustrated, when you bring up kids who are good, it affects things. It affects moods. It affects confidence. When you go from being a team that could not get a hit with the bases loaded for essentially half the season to having a first-round stud draft pick come up and be like, screw it, here's 2 grand slams in 2 days, the mood around this team has 1000% changed. Now, I don't know if it's going to continue into the playoffs, but the other thing too is, and in my opinion, this affects people in different ways. I will continue to say this with no evidence at all other than the eye test and the timing of his hot streak. I think Matt Wallner was the greatest thing to happen to Max Kepler possible, because Max Kepler was a dead ass. And look, this guy has talent. There is no question. I can't watch him play and think, oh man, he had no talent, and he clearly has proven he has talent. But there was no threat there at all. And when Wallner got called up, if you guys recall, the whole thing was, okay, he can play right field, right? And that threat, if you go back and look at it statistically, that threat, all of a sudden Kepler's like, oh, hold on a second here. And he got hot. So I think in different ways it impacts veteran players. But Phil, I think you are dead on right. The atmosphere in the stadium last night, I think, is shifting, because now it's fun. It's fun to see kids. It is not as great as Correa is at short. It is not fun to see him bounce into 6'4", 4'6'3".
By the way,
he
did speak about how the plantar fasciitis that he was dealing with back in May is still a major thing, and that's probably a more logical explanation for his worst season of his career than he just forgot how to play baseball or something. So, yeah, Dex, go ahead.
Look at the last two games where they have fallen behind, 5-0 and 4-0 respectively. And typically, now if that happens in the playoffs, I don't love this recipe to do it all the time, but they have fallen behind significantly early in games, which usually is just all right, well, they're not going to show up today. And they've, to use Guardiism again, battle their tails off, and they hit clutch hits, and they get big time pop from their young core, and they overcome that. That's where I think Phil's point of this new nucleus not having a care in the world about what's happened in the past, and they can also still rise up in the clutch and do something of significant importance. That's where it's pretty cool to see, because if you fall behind 4-5-0 early on, it can be tough to come back. And the Twins have basically taken that ball and ran with it the last two games.
And then just big picture again, just looking at the next 3 to 5 years of this nucleus, you're going to add Brooks Lee to it at some point. Probably he's been sputtering a little bit in AAA this year, and and his positions are all kind of clogged up. So something crazy would have to happen in the next 2 or 3 weeks for him to get called up this year. So he probably starts next season in St. Paul. If he starts red hot in late April, early May, then we're on Brooks Lee watch. He's going to be 23 years old next year. And now all of a sudden you got 5 guys all 25 years old or 26 years old and younger in the same bunch. So it'll be interesting to see if they can all keep performing, because there were some guys that kind of fell by the wayside among the old group too. Like Christian Guzman was really good for a couple years, and then he kind of faded and he wasn't part of it long term.
So May 1st, 2024, Brooks Lee at third, Correa at short, Julien at second, Kirilloff at first, Royce in center field. Where's Buxton?
That's a good question.
DHing again?
I think Royce Lewis plays third. I think Royce Lewis is your third baseman.
He's not going to center.
And then Brooks Lee
Patrick
probably plays second.
But I think Pat heard that they're going to spend the off season trying to work him in the outfield.
Teach him where the warning
like him
track
at third
is.
base. I like him at third base. I'm fine there.
You'd have to basically, you got to move someone, because Julien probably can't play second base. Brooks Lee at second, Correa at short, and then Royce Lewis at third, and then does Julien play first base long term and DH? But then where do you put Kirilloff, Wallner?
Right.
Kepler's going to be gone because he's 30. He doesn't fit the timeline.
I guess there's two ways to look at it. The first being baseball just kind of has a way of working these problems out on their own with injuries, and someone gets hurt and then someone takes their spot. But obviously with Judd's proclamation here on May 1st, if assuming everyone's healthy, where does everybody go? Well, now you kind of have this surplus of riches. So do they want to maybe, I'm not interested in this, but do they want to look at that as we have a surplus of riches? We have some holes in our starting pitching going forward.
Yeah. Do
you trade one of those guys who can actually get something legitimate back? I'm not really in that camp right now on August 29th. And that's where I just think baseball kind of has its own way of working itself out with injuries or just with ineffectiveness. But that is on the table for them if they want to this offseason too.
Yeah. Yeah. They've worked Julien out at first base too. So some of it's like, do you feel comfortable with Kirilloff in the outfield, or would you rather Kirilloff be a first baseman?
I'd rather he be at first base.
Yeah. So, but these are better problems to have than what they've seemingly had the last 2 or 3 years. On the pitching side, by the way, I think the big development is they haven't had a reliable lefty out of the bullpen besides Caleb Thielbar all season. And here comes Cody Funderburk down the backstretch last night. So Funderburk has been one of the best pitchers on that sort of revolving door St. Paul Saints staff. He was a starter for a number of years, a 15th round draft pick out of an obscure college in Texas somewhere. But he's a 6'4" lefty with a 13 K per 9 rate this year at St. Paul. Kind of a cutter, sinker, slider guy. So they may have stumbled into here with Cody Funderburk another left-hander that they can have down the stretch going into the postseason, because you need more than just Caleb Thielbar in a playoff series.
Yeah, and he was. I heard on the post game last night, he and some guys from the Saints were on their way to the state fair, and Toby Gardenhire called him and said, "Hey kid, you're going up, I think tomorrow.
Wow.
But I'll call you back." And then so Toby called the player development guy, and he's like, No,
like
he's
today.
going up right now. So he's like, go to Target Field right now. Funderburk got there, and Baldelli said, "Hey, you're probably going to pitch, so be prepared."
That's awesome.
So like the whole thing was just
because Thielbar had pitched the day
3 hours.
before, and
It's awesome.
So
But his stuff looked good.
So some of these, this is where, like, I know the bullpen kind of is what it is now, but when you start to account for, okay, what if Cody Funderburk is all of a sudden, he's been one of the best relievers at AAA. He showed that he belonged, last night. What if you got the second lefty? And then we went over on yesterday's show, Kenta Maeda and his postseason track record as a reliever is lights out. He's got like a 1.5 ERA over 22 appearances or something against that cheating Astros lineup and the world champion Cubs. So all of a sudden, and he got rocked last night as a starter, but all of a sudden he moves to your bullpen.
Yeah.
And maybe they're going to spend part of September, and Louis Varland's going to be a flame-throwing option. Like you can start to see how this bullpen looks a lot different projecting toward the beginning of October than it's sort of felt the last couple months.
I think the most important thing right now from a pitching standpoint, and his start on Saturday was pretty productive, but Joe Ryan's going to have to be fully back. I think he has to start. If you go 3 games, I think he has to start game 3. Like, I don't see an option now. And Ober's going to go to St. Paul to be shut down basically for a while, probably.
Yeah. So it's been bad.
So like that whole thing is weird. But I think the one thing is, if you go 3 games in that first round, Ryan absolutely positively has to be the guy that you can start in game 3 right now.
It definitely feels a lot better that you have Pablo, Sonny Gray, whatever order it is for 1 and 2, because I really can't remember the last time the Twins have had such a solid 1-2 punch to go into the playoffs. And then I wouldn't say I wouldn't say game 3 is a wash necessarily, but you're going to need Joe Ryan. But I kind of, if Funderburk has come up here and Louis Varland and Kenta Maeda can kind of be these swing men in the bullpen, I don't mind piecemealing together potentially a game 3 or like a game 4 situation in an ALDS or CS where I feel a lot better about this than I did probably a month ago.
Yeah. On the Bailey Ober front, this is a good idea. Just give him a 2-week break or something, because he's, I believe if my math is right, I think he's 14 innings beyond his previous career professional high.
He is.
Yeah, in 2021, as a 25-year-old, he threw 16 innings at AAA and 92 innings at the major league level. And so he just, before that, 2017, I don't know what he did in college. I don't have his college stats in front of me, but 75 innings in 2018, 78 innings in 2000. He's at 122 innings right now. So if you can shut him down for a little bit, let his arm breathe, and then bring him back maybe as a reliever or something, there might be some live bullets in that arm toward the end of September and October. Or are you saying they might shut him down for the year?
No, I'm saying I wonder if they would shut him down through at least the first round, though. Because in 3 games, you could build a bullpen, especially like with your points about starters, where he wouldn't have to pitch there. I don't know. It just seems, I understand why they're doing it. I just don't know what their plan is now.
Yeah. So, we'll see. But they have an abundance of riches for their postseason planning. It looks
Game 3, is Joe Ryan handcuffed to Keuchel?
Well, if Keuchel's on your postseason roster and you also have Funderburk as a second lefty, then yes, Keuchel would be a handcuff to a starter. But if Keuchel's your only other lefty, you might need him out of the pen against lefties.
Okay.
But yeah, you probably, or he's just a handcuff to any starter that gets smoked. You might have like if your first starter gets beaten game one, you might.
I would hope game 1 and 2 you don't get smoked, but that's true because Gray is susceptible to just falling apart for at least an inning, and then that's the thing with Gray too. I don't know how long if he does that. If he falls apart in the 4th of game 2, ordinarily I think you just allow that to play out. I don't know how long you allow that to play out though in such an important playoff game.
Yeah. Hey, we got a little Immaculate Grid challenge here to get to, presented by our friends at Nutrisource. Maya Mackey was early on the alarm again this morning because she just can't resist her Nutrisource chicken and rice. It's her favorite thing multiple times a day.
Stella is the same exact way. In fact, she loves to go outside because you know what? When she gets inside, it's training rewards tree time for her. So when Stella Zolgad gets her hands on Nutrisource, it's pretty much the same as when Vinny Boy there gets his paws on that delicious food, Declan.
He does the sit, does a little one paw up, then a little shake, little hey, yep, I'll shake for you. I know you guys were out on the shake when we talked about this a year ago, but I love me a good dog shake. Okay, give me a good little paw up here, buddy. We can do this. I love it.
Did I say that?
Yeah, you guys were out on the shake.
Well, Maya knows how to do it, but it's just like it's a pointless command, and just it's like showing off, I guess, which is fine. It's fine.
You know what, Dex? When I see that badge, and I know it's appeared on the screen a lot before, you and the dog sort of do look alike.
They say your dog, you look like
at your hair.
I will
look at
say
his hair.
This is as long as his hair has ever been. He goes a little shorter. I mean, old Dex Sweets just got his haircut in preparation for his engagement photos later this evening.
Oh,
yeah. We got to look suave. That's important.
You guys look good.
Yeah. Thank you. If you want to look good and enjoy your food, all the dogs out there listening and watching the Score on Twin Show, go to NutrisourcePetFoods.com. NutrisourcePetFoods.com. If you're sore, go to SummitOrthopedics.com. If you're dealing with any type of pain, this is for humans, no offense, dogs. Ankles, feet, back, whatever it is, Summit Orthopedics can help. No referrals are needed. They offer same-day appointments. If you're really hurting, they also offer walk-in orthopedic urgent care 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 25 locations across the Twin Cities. Learn more at summitortho.com. All right, boys, we'll put 6 minutes on the clock here. Immaculate Grid Challenge, looking to go 9 for 9. Maybe do a good rarity score. We'll see. We're looking for a Dodger who was once a Marlin, a Dodger who was once a Ranger, and a Dodger who had 3,000 career hits. An Angel who was a Marlin, Angel who was a Ranger, and an Angel who had 3,000 career hits. And a Red Sox who was a Marlin, a Red Sox who was a Ranger, and a Red Sox that had 3,000 career hits. 3, 2, 1, go.
I can give you right now Marlins Dodger Cody Ross.
Boom.
Good one.
Josh Beckett for Marlin Red Sox. 0.1%. Let's go.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Impressive.
Cody Ross.
Josh Beckett's probably going to be like 20%.
Beckett will be high, but you could also use them for this square too. Cody Ross, you could have. Fernando Rodney for Angels Marlins.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Seven.
Look at us, man. 7%. All right. Do you want to go Josh Beckett, or do you guys have somebody else you'd rather? We can keep that one in our pocket.
Beckett's fine.
We can keep it in the back pocket in case something else happens.
Okay.
Ranger, Dodger.
Ranger who is
Dodger.
Zach Greinke went to the Angels.
Yeah.
CJ,
Dodgers too.
CJ Wilson for Ranger Angel.
Ranger, Angel,
right?
CJ Wilson.
Yep, CJ Wilson. Yeah, I think he struggled in Texas, didn't he?
9%.
Nice.
Seager. For Dodger.
Yeah, Corey Seager. That would be the highest one. Corey Seager.
Yeah, then take Beckett too.
It's probably you're probably spelling Corey wrong.
With a K?
EY.
Corey.
Oh, EY. Yes.
There he is.
5.
Yeah, 25%.
Okay. Yeah,
we might as well go. We might as well unload Josh Beckett at this point because we're not
just
going
get it filled in.
All right, we're doing well here. We got 4 minutes left, 4 squares left.
Texas and Boston. Who's the pitcher who's there now? Who's on the DL? Pitch for Boston in the World Series.
Oh yeah.
Gutsy performance, and now he's in Texas.
Yeah.
Not David Price.
I'm
God.
having an old man.
It's on the
moment.
tip of my tongue. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. It starts with the E, doesn't it?
Evaldi.
Evaldi.
Nathan Evaldi. Okay.
Yep. He's in Texas now. There he is. There he is, below Joe Nathan.
That's a good one. 17%. Okay, now we just need 3,000 career hit guys who passed through these places. Now, did Wade Boggs? Oh yeah, Rod Carew for the Angels.
Wade Boggs got 3,000 on a home run with Tampa Bay, but he has 3,000.
Okay, so Wade Boggs for the Red Sox. Wow, this is a buzzsaw here, boys. We're not even halfway done with the clock.
And
I mean, we've butchered the rarity score, but there's only so many 3,000 career hit guys too. And then we just need a Dodger who had 3,000 career hits. Trying to think of old school players.
Yeah,
Jackie Robinson didn't have 3,000.
No, Garvey didn't, right? Say didn't.
Manny
Russell,
Ramirez didn't, did he? I don't think so.
I don't think he did.
He had the 500 homers.
Who passed through I mean, the Dodgers have had a ton of guys who just passed through.
Did no, he managed them. Never mind.
Mattingly?
Yeah.
Yeah, he wouldn't play.
He also did not have 3,000 hits.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I don't think.
No, I think he did not. I think you're right.
Did Dave Winfield go to the Dodgers ever?
No.
Eddie Murray never played for the Dodgers.
No,
right?
he did.
He did?
No, he did.
Eddie
Good
Murray.
call. Good call, Phil.
Okay.
Great call. He definitely played for the Dodgers.
Eddie Murray.
Yep.
Wow.
186.
That's the easiest one we've ever done.
Nice work. Nice
Holy
work, boys.
cow.
Nice work. Let's see what we had for top
God,
most popular.
only 5 options for each of those.
Oh,
Oh,
wait,
yeah,
you-
Pujols.
Wait, you can do it guys twice?
No, you
No.
can't. But they're
That's
telling
most
you
popular. Okay.
yeah, most
I
popular.
got you.
So Seager was Eovaldi also the most popular?
Yeah.
Dude, what was that one that go down to the only 38% of people got the Marlins Angels box
That's
correct.
a tough one. That's for sure a tough one.
Damn.
Justin Bohr was the most common.
Justin Bohr.
What did we do for that one?
We did.
Oh, Fernando Rodney.
Yeah, that's nice.
Wow,
Good job.
nice job. Nice job, boys. What's our
What
rarity
else?
score there? It's like 200 something.
It was 189. We were still under 2 at
It's
least.
tough. When they give you the 3,000 hit guys, it's like
Yeah, you're kind of
there's not enough obscure options to have a good rarity
Yeah.
score. So
agreed.
there you go. All right, we're back on track. We are Immaculate. We appreciate you guys helping us continue to grow this thing since we brought it back a couple months ago, the Score North Twin Show. If you could click the subscribe button and the like button on the Score North YouTube channel, if you haven't already, you can help us grow this thing. And a 5-star rating and a positive review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify also helps us grow. Let's get a playoff game, Twins. Come on now.